Hello, this is Mike with MatterFix.io back again, and this is the third in our series of Introduction to Matterport Scanning videos. And in this video, we're going to go through and actually scan a small space. Everything from kind of scoping it, initially planning the scan, setting the equipment up, connecting the camera, get going, and doing all the scanning and kind of the little things you need to pay attention to while you're doing the scan. So the first thing I'm going to do is kind of walk you through. This happens to be a small little commercial space with storage and a couple offices and a bathroom. And we're going to scan the exterior out front and the 3 offices and then into the bathroom. And that should give you kind of a basic idea of, you know, how the scanning process works. So one of the first things you want to do when you're getting ready to scan is you kind of want to plan your scan. Look at your space and kind of plan how you're going to work through it, and there's some initial things you might want to set up in that and stage to have so that it's ready. So for instance, in this space, I've opened this blind here just so you can see scanning a window. We're going to mark that as we scan. Outside is pretty straightforward, nothing needs to be prepped there. We're going to scan this office space here. We're going to scan this little office space. We're going to scan this office space. We're going to open these doors up, and I'm not going to scan the whole storage area, but I'm going to scan over here into this bathroom. Now this bathroom does not have lights on it, does not have lights in it right now, so I'm going to show you how we use the lights attached to the camera. So one of the first things you're going to do is decide if you're scanning for AEC, for dimensional type architectural drawings, or if you're scanning for a virtual tour. And a virtual tour, obviously, you want to get your viewpoints. You want to make sure you can show everything that somebody's going to want to see. So we would probably do 2 or 3 outside, come through the door, and get enough scans in here. Just enough so that people can navigate through and see everything. If you were scanning this for AEC for doing drawings, like you're going to use the point cloud and go into CAD or something like that, you would probably get a few more scan points to define the corners really well. You'd want to get one close to this window so that it can see the inside facings of the window. The same thing, you want to be fairly close to the door jamb. On the outside, if you were going to want to model that front facade of the building, you would probably do 2 or 3 series of scans. Some first ones maybe 7 or 8 feet out, and then 10 or 12, and then maybe 15 feet, depending on how high the building is and what all you need to model there. So you just want to keep in mind, if you're doing virtual tour versus AEC, you have a little bit of a different scanning pattern. You go in here, this is a very simple room, so probably the same amount of scan points you'd have for a virtual tour would work for doing the AEC type work. Same thing in here, and probably the same out here. You might get 1 scan in here for a virtual tour, whereas you might do 2 of them for AEC type of work. And then one additional consideration when you're getting ready, you're kind of staging the space. One of the principles of Matterport is that each time you do a scan, if there's a doorway that scan can see and you're going to want to scan through there into the next room, that doorway needs to be open at any time the camera can see it. So when I'm scanning this room here, that door will need to be open anytime I'm scanning in here, and that door will need to be open because I'm going to want to scan outside and connect to the outside. If that door was closed and then I scanned up to it, and then when I got here I opened it then and scanned outside, it would create the model, but you wouldn't be able to navigate here because one of the sweeps would have seen this door closed and put mesh across there, and it would prevent you from walking through that doorway. So you just need to keep in mind that any doorway needs to be in the position that it's going to be if you're going to scan through that doorway to the outside anytime a camera can see it. So when I'm scanning here, both of those doors need to be open. When I'm scanning in this room, all 3 of these doors need to be open. That one, and that one. And then when I get here, and it can see through there, this door obviously needs to be open, and this one needs to be open. And this is where having these door stops, this is something you always want to have in your kit, is door stops, so you can go through. Before you scan, I like to go in and set all the doors in the position they need to be in. So I'm going to go ahead and put a door stop there, and that'll keep these two doors in the position I want them in. And then out here, when I scan into this room, before I scan into this room, I'm going to use a door stop here and prop that door open so that it'll work correctly when I'm scanning and connecting to the outside. Okay, so if you've rented one of our Pro 3 complete kits, this is the kit that has everything you need to scan. It's going to come in this Pelican case, the shipping label on it. We ship all those via UPS. It should have 2 of these removable zip ties on it. You want to go ahead and pull those off, set them aside, put them back on when you send the kit back to us. And when you open it up, first you're going to see your iPad here. This is an iPad Pro in this particular kit. And then you're going to see the kit contents. We have a little instruction label. There's a QR code to take you to our Scanning 101 videos in case you need a primer or brush up on anything. A white cloth. You've got your tripod, the camera, 2 batteries, the charger for the iPad, the tripod adapter, charger cradle, and the charger block and cable, and then the actual camera itself. And all this, the return label is going to be underneath the camera here. So when you get done with this kit, pack everything up. You just put this label over top of the other label that's there and drop it off at any UPS store. So that's what's in the kit. Now let's go through the basic setup. So we use these Manfrotto 190 tripods. This is a 190 X4. It's small enough it'll fold and fit into the kit. You want to make sure that you've fully extended each of the legs and make sure you've clipped the clip fully so that the legs are locked in place. Okay, tripod's up. I usually put the legs into about that position so that it's easy to walk around, but it gives it good enough support. Okay, so the tripod's up. Make sure this little knob is tight so that that center mass doesn't wiggle at all. Let's go ahead and we'll put the tripod adapter on here. Make sure that's tightened down pretty good, just so that it doesn't come loose. It can cause the unstable error if that gets loose there. And then you want to disengage this clamp. Next, we're going to go ahead and get the camera out. Now this particular camera is set up for lights. They don't usually come this way unless somebody orders them, but these 2 clips on either side are for the lights that we use when people need it. You want to place well, actually first let's go ahead and put the battery in. I like to put the battery in before I put it on there. Put it in, and then you want to wiggle it just to make sure these clips are fully engaged so the battery doesn't slide out. I'm going to set this on. Now this is important. You just want to make sure that you don't have it cockeyed one way or the other. It needs to be pulled down where it's good and flush against the top here, and then close that clamp, and then you're ready to scan. And this is generally a good height, this tripod fully extended here. If you were in a very tall ceiling area, you might raise the camera up a little bit. If you were in a house that had shorter ceilings, you might actually lower it down a little bit. But this is a good standard height. So we've got the camera there. We got the battery in it. We're going to go ahead and power up. You push the button and it'll first give you the battery display, and then it'll give you this Matterport logo. Once it shows the Matterport logo, you can release the power button. It'll boot up then. Sometimes it may take a few minutes, but when you get to this signal where it shows or this display where it shows kind of like a picture of a device and the animated radio waves, that means it's broadcasting the Wi-Fi signal, and we're ready to go ahead and connect to it and start scanning. Now, one thing I overlooked when I was setting this up is I did not take the lens cap off. Make sure you do that. I've done that before, and I'm sure you'll do it too, but definitely try and remember to get that lens cap off. Okay, so I am going to open up the Capture app here and connect to the camera, just kind of walk you through that, and I'm going to record what we're doing in the Capture app on Loom on this iPad. So you should be able to follow along. I'll kind of insert that in the video so you can actually see what's going on the iPad here. So I'm going to close out the camera window, and now I'm going to open up. The first thing you want to do, just like you want to connect to any device, is open up the camera's Wi-Fi network, and then you'll look for the Matterport and the serial number. So Matterport, and there's the Q. It starts with a Q. That's a Pro 3. So you know that's the network you want to connect to. So I'm going to push the connect button there. Now sometimes this will be glitchy, and the first time it'll refuse to connect. You can see on here, this indicates that the camera thinks it's got a connection. Okay, now we've got the check mark. So we're definitely connected between the iPad and the camera. And if you'll, next what we're going to do is open up the Matterport Capture app. That's the icon for it right here. If you don't have it, just go to the iOS store or the Google Play store and just type in Matterport app. That'll come up. It's a free download. You don't need to register or anything to basically use the app. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up. Now it says update camera. I'm going to put later. Typically, whenever you have an update available, you want to go ahead and apply it. If I'm starting a job or in the middle of a job, I won't do an update, but I'll do it as soon as I finish that job. Most of these Pro 3 updates have been going smooth. You shouldn't have any problem installing. I just don't like to do it when I'm actually out doing a job. So I'm going to push later there. Now, if I go here, this is, let me give you a quick little walkthrough here. You have two sections. You have jobs and you have spaces. Jobs are places that you've actively scanned. You may or may not have uploaded those models. But they're active scans that you've collected, and they're kept on your iPad until you delete them. If they have the little cloud with a check mark, that means it's been uploaded. If they don't have a check mark there, a little cloud with a check mark, that means it hasn't been uploaded yet. But these are jobs, and what we're doing now is we're going to do a job. But if you go back here, spaces, these are spaces. If I was logged into my account, my cloud account, it would show me everything I've uploaded. So you can view all the jobs you've uploaded. If you ever needed to get a job and put it back on your iPad as a job, you can go into spaces here and download that, and then it'll populate over here as a job, and you could go back, say they added a wing or a building or a room onto something you scanned before. You could download it back here into your jobs, go out to that site, open it up, and add that new space or the remodeled area to it. So anyway, jobs is what you're using when you're working, when you're doing your collections. So I'm going to push select new job. Now, typically here I just put a placeholder. So I'm just going to put office right now. You can fill out the address and other information there. I typically do that at the end of the day. When I'm kind of finishing everything up, I'll just put a placeholder in right now. So you go ahead and I put an office there, save. Now it's going to open it up, and it says the name of that job, office, at the top, and it tells you which camera you're connected to. So it says we're connected to a Pro 3 camera, which is what we want. And if I push the button, it's going to initiate a scan. So another tip that is good to know is we always like to have, if it's a square room or square building or whatever that you're scanning, I like to have it line up with this grid so that it's, parallel with the grid that way, versus laying in there at an angle. When the jobs get put in there at an angle, it can be disorienting trying to kind of figure out, where things are at and where your scans are applying and kind of the layout. So in order to get it to line up with the grid, and actually I'm going to start back here because I don't have that door propped open. Let's start in the very back here. And for a virtual tour, I'm not going to have that many scan points. But the size of this, even if I was doing it for AEC, there wouldn't be a tremendous amount more of scan points. So I'm going to go back here, pick a good starting point, and then I'm going to go ahead and initiate a scan. You hear the mirror motor start to spin, and then the camera rotates. The Pro3 has 4 stops, and there's a little scale on the back here that kind of visually tells you where it's at. So it's done it. When it beeps, it typically is okay to move the camera because that means it's done its capture. And then a little bit later it'll populate. So now you can see I pointed it at that wall, so perpendicular to the wall, and it lined up on the grid the way I would like to. So that's just one thing to remember there. Now you'll also notice here, this is the scan number. You see this big black area underneath it? That's what the camera could not see, so it didn't know what to put there for the floor. And you typically, you don't like to have those. So you're always going to want to scan enough to fill those in. But you can see the room layout, you can see the doors open, it's scanned way out here, even out into that room. It actually showed that door closed there. So I'm going to want to prop that door open, I guess, before I do my next scan, because it's seeing a good ways. With the LiDAR, you can get some good distance. So back to this little black area here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move over, and typically you want to scan about a foot or two on either side of a doorway whenever you come to a doorway. Now, I usually can walk around the camera, but here it's a little close. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move to an area where the camera can't see me. Just step around the corner here. I'm going to initiate this scan. Now, this scan point should populate right there, and it should fill in that area that's black there now, because the camera should be able to see that area and apply the right color and texture there. Okay, so it finished the scan. It's okay to move the camera. It's transferring the data. Now it's actually processing it. Boom. Okay, so you can see it had no problem filling in there. So for a virtual tour, you just would want to be able to walk into the room and then go to the center so you can see everything. That's enough scan points there. Now, once again, got it on the other side of this doorway. I'm going to go ahead and do one more before I prop that front door open. I moved out of the way. You've got a little scale there, that red kind of thing progresses the scan. So it's okay to move the camera. It's processing it now, and there, boom, it's put it in. Now you can see it did pretty good coverage just from this corner as far as basically filling everything. Of course, you want to get more scan points there, but it did a pretty good job. Now, like I had said, we're going to want the doors propped in the position that they need to be in when the camera can see it. So pretty soon the camera is going to be able to see this door. So I am going to, that's another thing, having a neck strap is always good for your iPad. I'm going to prop, this door will hold itself open, but this door won't, so this is where the door stops come in handy. I'm going to prop that over there, go back over here. I'm going to go ahead and scan here. We're going to scan out into that unlit bathroom, and I'll show you the lights. I left it a little further out this time, so I can go ahead and walk behind it or walk around it. Okay. So that one's done. Now I'm going to move it to here. I think this is a close enough distance, especially for a virtual tour. I can get one here and then go into the bathroom. Oh, another thing, when you're doing this where you've got the iPad on a strap around your shoulder like that, what I like to do is go ahead and lock the rotation, and that way it's not constantly moving around, so it's basically fixed in one place. So we've scanned 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to scan out here. That's set up. I'm going to go ahead and initiate a scan here. That's done. I'm going to go ahead and get those lights I was telling you about. You can get these on Amazon. There's a lot of different solutions for lights, but these are fairly inexpensive and work well. You can buy these GoPro clips with the adhesive. You put it on the side of the camera, and then basically these just clip in like this. And then you just push the button. There we go. There's full brightness. You push the button to hold them, and then you can change the modes. Let me see where we're at here. I think that's the brightest one. And then I like to tilt them a little bit to the side here. Okay, so now we're going to go just inside the doorway here, and you can see they do a pretty good job of lighting this up. I'm going to move out of the way, push the scan button. You see the little red bar progressing as it makes each of its 4 portions of the rotation. And it's done. It beeps. It's okay to move the camera. Now, typically to see everything in here, this would be fine, but I'm going to do a second one just in case here, just to fill it in a little bit better. It's always a good practice to put extra scans in if you have any doubt. You can always delete them or take them out or hide them, but you can't add them back in. Can't add new ones when you're done, or when you're done back at the office. Okay, that's done. Let's see. That's a little weird there. You notice that the color patterns. Now this is a preview, so it's going to look a lot better when it gets processed. And then when I was talking about previews actually too, you can actually see a preview image of each scan that you've done. See, I opened that up, and here I can even make it big. Well, thought I could make it big. I guess that's as big as I can make it. Here you'll see color variations in that, and that's because this is a preview. Don't worry about it. It's fine. This is more just kind of a tool to allow you to kind of visually see what was there, see if somebody got in your scan, something like that. But it'll be much better looking when it's done and uploaded, or uploaded and processed. Okay, so we're going to go back in here. I'm done with the lights. I'm going to pause for a second here and take the lights off and get ready to finish up. Okay, so we've started there. We did that room with just 2 scans. We've got 2 scans in this room, 1 at each of the doorways. We got the intermediate airway hallway there. Then with the lights, we did the 2 scans in the bathroom. So we need to finish this room up. Now for a virtual tour, you'd probably want, somebody would probably walk in and you'd have a scan point there, and then you'd have a scan point in the middle of the room, and that would be enough because they could see everything here. If they had partitions or something you wanted to see behind you, might add some more scan points. But for a virtual tour and something like this, this will be adequate. So I've got the camera positioned there. Doing another scan here. Okay, that's done. Now we're going to go and get the scan to connect this room to the next room here. Now this is where I'm going to need to go ahead and open that, definitely need to open that door there, because we're going to want to scan outside. If I scanned here, for sure it would put a mesh across there and not allow you to navigate. So let me go do that. Now this is going to be kind of noisy when I open this because we've got interstate here, but not much I can do about that. Hopefully it won't be too bad. There we go. Okay, so that door is propped open. I'm just going to pop over here out of the way. We'll go ahead and do that scan. And we'll move it on the inside of the doorway here. And we'll go ahead and do that scan. You can see you've got pretty good definition of all the walls. This is still just a preview, but you've got real good definition of the walls, the floors. There's no black areas on the floor. When you see a black area, as I mentioned before, that was something the camera couldn't see, and it's always a good practice to fill those in. When we get out here, that desk will probably create a black area. Okay, so we've got our first scan here, and you can see this box is blocking the camera, so it's black here. That we need to get that painted in, and then the table is blocking behind there. The camera couldn't see what was back there, so we'll want to make sure before we get done that gets filled in. So I'm going to go here and do a scan. This Pro 3 is really quick. We started with the Pro 1 and that was very slow compared to this. Now the Pro 2 is fairly fast, but the Pro 3 is really nice. You can, once you get the hang of it, you can really fly through some spaces. Okay, so we're going to do that here. You notice that black is starting to disappear. The black area right there is gone because the camera could see that. Some of that's gone, but we'll fill it all in. Okay, so we've got that. So we got very little of the black area, but if you're thinking about your virtual tour, somebody walks in there at number 12, they're probably going to want to be over here somewhere where they can see everything, and then maybe put another one over here so they can basically navigate the whole room. So we'll go ahead and we'll put one here. Oof, I got to scoot. I can't get around there. Sometimes you have to scramble to get out of the way of the camera. You definitely don't want to be in the image for multiple reasons. Okay, that's done. So that one's in there. And then we're going to do one more over here. And that's going to give you most of the views that anybody would want to see inside this room for virtual tour wise. And really for AEC and spaces like this, you wouldn't necessarily do that many more. You might throw a couple more scan points in here just for additional data. Okay, so now we're going to go outside. Now, typically, historically, the Pro 2 camera didn't work very well outside, although it could work on a day like this. It's late in the evening here, so it's kind of overcast. It could work, but the Pro 3 works fantastic. It has no problems whatsoever. So I'm going to want to scan the front of this, but I'm only going to want to scan over as wide as this office is. So I'm going to basically I'll go fairly close to the door here. Now, we're getting to the point where the camera is a little bit out of level. What I like to do is put the one leg on the higher ground and then basic. That way you only have to adjust one leg to get it level. The Pro 3 isn't very sensitive. It can be off 10 or 15 degrees and still be okay, but I like to eyeball level it. Okay, so we're outside here. We're going to do a scan. It's done. Now for a virtual tour, well, let's just say if we were doing AEC, I would probably scan here too, just so it can see the returns on the window there. Let's see. That's pretty close to level. You can see it placed that one good. Go ahead and initiate a scan here. Now it's gonna, my reflection is gonna be in that glass. That's not really good. I should have been out of the way there. You just typically prefer, you know, for a best practices, you don't ever want to be in a mirror or in a window. Okay, and then we're gonna go, I think the edge is basically about right here of that office inside there. I'm going to scan again. So we've got 3 scans across. Now, if you were going to do this, you wanted to model this building facade, you would want to be out far enough. I think this is good. That's not tremendously high. From here you should be able to get pretty good data for modeling that. So if I was doing AEC for that facade, I would do a row of scans at this distance here. If it was a virtual tour, I might only do 1 or 2 outside just to fill in the front and allow the viewers to be able to see the front of the building. So we're going to move it over here. Ready, do another one. There. And then we'll line up with that other one there. Do another one. Okay, so that's the basics of scanning. I'm going to go inside now and show you a few more things that you'll want to do while you're on site. Okay, back inside where you can hear a little bit better. The one thing that we didn't discuss was marking windows and mirrors. Typically, like this window, when you scan in front of it, some of the LiDAR pulses are going to go outside and hit and come back. Some are going to hit the glass and come back. It can cause some confusion when you're doing the modeling because of that fact. Same thing with mirrors. The pulses can go kind of think they're going through something and give data on the other side of it, or they can bounce back and cause noise. So they have some marking features in the capture app here, and if you push on this little barbell looking line here, you've got windows, mirrors, and trim. So windows, obviously you apply those at a window. Mirrors you would apply on a mirror. Trim, you basically pretty much use that at the end of the day. When I get back and do the finish on this, I'll trim the exterior so that when that dollhouse is created, it doesn't show you all this extra spray everything way out here, or this spray that went into the warehouse part there. It'll just basically, you can define what it is you want to show on the in the dollhouse view there with that. But the best practice on windows and mirrors is to go ahead and do them while you're scanning, as you're scanning, because if you don't, sometimes it can be hard to remember exactly what was where. I didn't do it here just because I wanted to kind of get through the scanning first. But say you were scanning in this room, this is that window here. You would want to add a trim mark to that, and you can see here I pushed the button and it basically just dropped a line there, and it has a little arrow to inside. So what you want to do is you want to grab that, pull that over like that, and apply that where that window is. I guess with this one you could actually even inset it a little bit. That might be more than what's necessary. Basically, you just want to tell the app that there's a window surface behind this line. So I've got it there, and I'm going to add another one, and I'm going to go ahead and put this one on the outside. There and there. So that's also going to tell from where our scans there on the outside that there's a window there, so it'll know what to do. So basically that's that. They don't need to be super accurately placed, but they need to be in the general area covering in that. And then mirrors are another one. So typically there's going to be a mirror over, there isn't a mirror in this bathroom that we scanned here, but typically there is going to be one over top of the sink. So I am going to tap on the mirror, and it's just like the window. So I'm going to put it here and here, pretending that there was a mirror over top of that sink. So that's something, like I said, the best practice is to go ahead and do that as you're scanning, so you keep up with it. And then when you're in the mode, the marking mode, you'll need to hit the back arrow to leave it. And then you can see that the marks are there, the window marks and the mirror marks are there. So that's pretty much what we do on site. I am going to record kind of the trimming and the uploading process and all that, just so you can see how that goes. It's pretty straightforward, but it's good to just see a walkthrough of it one time. Okay, so we finished this simple scan. I'm going to walk you through kind of a few steps, breaking the equipment down and closing things out. For instance, on the Capture app, I'm still connected to the camera, everything's powered on. You don't really need to do anything here. You can back out here and you can see that job is right there. You can close it out, it doesn't really matter. You don't need to disconnect. It'll disconnect when you power the camera down. So of course you want to power the camera down, and to do that you just hold the button until it'll power off. There it does, it's off. You can go ahead and drop the battery out now. Put it back, if you've got our rental kit, put it back in the case. Loosen the clamp, camera should pop right off. Always try and remember to keep track of that lens cover and get it back on. That fits in here. Zip it up. Like I said, if you had a rental kit, this is going to be the return label. You put it on the outside there. Let's see, take the tripod adapter off, because the tripod won't fit in there if it's in there. I actually have two in here, so there's one already in there. Take the tripod adapter off, collapse the legs. And then this pops in. Usually it'll go like one way. Okay, that fit right in that way. It's a snug fit, but it definitely will fit in there. And then you know, any other accessories put in there. These are the zip ties. If you were gonna ship it, you go ahead and close it. And if you kept these removable zip ties, put on there. And then when the label's on, like I said, just drop it off at any at any UPS store. And I'll finish this up. I'll do a video where we'll do the editing that you do before you upload, kind of the little odds and ends that you want to finish up. And then we're going to go ahead and show you how to log into your account, Matterport account, and do the upload. And that'll finish this video. And then the last video I'm going to do will show you kind of how to navigate your Matterport cloud account and the various features and functions inside there. So that's got it for now. Okay, I need to throw this in there now. I realized when I was doing the editing and uploading this video, I didn't cover a couple of things that relate to when you're scanning. One is on the Pro3 camera, there's 3 different settings for the LiDAR density, how many points it collects. There's standard, medium, and high. Typically, you'll want to use standard. Very seldom will you want to use any of the higher settings for the density. But I'm going to go back in. If you're seeing this now, it's not finished yet, but in the next week, I'll go back in and edit that and put in more details about that. So there's the settings on the Pro3 camera, the density settings. And the second thing is when you're scanning, typically everything we did inside that unit was a 3D scan, meaning it's capturing an image and it's using the LiDAR or the infrared light on the Pro 2 to capture 3D data. So it's capturing the visual imagery and the spatial 3D data, and that allows it to put it in and populate it on the floor plan. It knows how to figure out where that scan goes, and it becomes part of your virtual tour. Each one of those points, you can click on it and open it up and see that see your model from that point. There's another mode which is a 360 capture, and what that does is it just takes a 360 image. There's no 3D data. The app doesn't know how to place it where it is, and you use that for, say there was a utility room or a electrical room or something like that you weren't allowed to leave the door open, or there's say you were doing the inside of a space, you didn't want to do the outside, but they wanted just to be able to see the outside. In both of those cases, you would take the camera out there, go into the 360 capture mode, take a picture, and it would put a little dot where it thought it should be on the floor plan view. And then you have to, since it doesn't know exactly how to place it, you have to actually drag it around and then orient it where the view is right. So that's the 360 capture. And like I said, I'll go back in and add that in and actually show you how that works, but it'll probably be another week before I get to that. Okay, so we captured that small office space. So next I'm going to walk you through kind of the little bit of editing you can do, and then how to upload the model to your Matterport cloud account. I'll typically do this at the end of the day when I get back to the office or back home. You need to make sure you have a good stable Wi-Fi connection, and you want to try and be connected to that Wi-Fi network the entire time while your model is uploading. Theoretically, you can leave and reconnect and it'll continue the uploading if one's in progress, but we've had some issues before where models have gotten hung up trying to switch Wi-Fi networks while it's uploading. So it's best to go ahead and stay connected to the same Wi-Fi network the whole time the model is uploading, which shouldn't take real long, typically 10-15 minutes unless it's a really big job. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is I want to go ahead and connect to a Wi-Fi network. Now, I'm at home, so I've got a good solid Wi-Fi network. I know I'm connected. Then the next thing you want to do is go ahead and open up the Matterport Capture app. And just to walk you through this again, it's typically going to open up to My Jobs, and these are all the projects that I've scanned when I was using this iPad. Some of them have been uploaded, some of them haven't. The little cloud check mark indicates it's been uploaded. And you can see the little office area we scanned here is the top one, the last one. it's right there. And like I said, this is my jobs. If you go over here, you have all jobs, which is that view, and then you have all spaces. Now, since I'm not logged in or connected and logged into my Matterport cloud account, it's not showing me anything. If you have spaces that you've already uploaded or processed in your account and you're logged in, it'll populate here. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and get logged in. So you go click on that, go down to settings down here, and then you have to touch the screen so that you can see what's behind it. And here, sign in and register. So I'm going to go ahead and sign in. And you use these credentials. This is what you would have set up when you set up your Matterport Cloud account. You'll have an email and a password, and you just enter those in here. Okay, so I entered the username and password, so I'm logged into my account. Jobs there. Now when I go to all spaces, it's going to show me everything that I've already uploaded and has been processed. These are all the spaces that are on my cloud account, in the cloud, in my hosting account. So we'll go back to all jobs, and we're going to work on just a little bit of kind of editing and things you would do prior to uploading. One thing you can do is click on the three dots here, you can edit the model details. And there's not really a lot in here. This top line typically would be where you would enter the address. I had put a placeholder in there for office, so I would go in and enter the exact address, how the client or whoever's we're scanning for is going to want it. Internal notes, you can just put in there something about the projects, anything you want to note about it. And then if you use any kind of ID numbers or something like that for spaces that you scan, you can enter them here. So you can go ahead and edit those details. And then next you want to go ahead and open up the job. And now you can see here what we scanned. And if you'll notice, the offices that we scanned is defined by this area, and then we went out front. But you've got a lot of spray here. Like we did not scan out in this little warehouse area that was beside it, but the camera captured all that. And out here, it captured a whole lot of this parking lot and a vehicle and that. And you don't, typically you don't want that to show. If I was to upload this like it is now, when you looked at the dollhouse view, it's going to show all the spray and extra stuff that you don't necessarily need to or want to see. So there's another trim tool. If you recall, we did when you click on that, you have windows, mirrors, and then you have one called trim. And the trim is what you're going to use here to clean this up so that it only uploads what you want to show in the final dollhouse or floor plan view. So I'm going to hit the trim here, and then you just click on, move this up here, add a trim line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this here, here. I'm just going to do a real simple trim here. I'm going to go out here and adjust. That doesn't need to be exact there. So what I'm going to end up showing is just the actual outline of the offices and what's directly in front. Now, you can vaguely see where the scan points are. If you trim where those scan points are outside of where you trim, you won't be able to access those views in the finished model. So I'm going past to make sure that I've not eliminated any of those scan points. So that's one trim line. You don't need anything across the back. That looks pretty clean. I'm going to add another trim line here, there, and there to define the other side. And then I'm going to add a trim line here out this far. So that's what's basically going to show up inside of Now, if you need to move any of these, if you just touch it, it makes it active again. You can also delete it. If it's active and you hit the little garbage can, it'll delete it. So that's pretty much all I'm going to do here as far as the trimming on this one before I upload. So I'm in the trim mode, I hit the back arrow, I'm out of the trim mode. Now you can see the trim lines. You can't do anything. Oh, actually, I guess you can. I didn't realize that. If you touch on it, you go back into the trim mode automatically, and it's highlighted, which that's actually pretty handy. So here's everything. It's trimmed. It's ready to go. Click on the three dots again. Hit upload. There's going to be a little dialog box, kind of a upload checklist here. Here you can go ahead and update or correct the address if you would like to. And then you click finish on that. You go to the next one. This is the account it's going to upload to. You can actually select the location, because in your account you can have folders for like different clients or different projects. So this is going into the folder we call Site Tour 360 Pro 3. Then there's three options you can toggle off or on here. Defurnish space. If this is enabled, this allows the viewers to click on a button when they're viewing the model, and using AI it will defurnish. So basically it will make the space look like it's vacant. That feature works pretty well, but you need to decide if that's something you want to enable or not. So it's toggled on here, I believe, by default. You can just toggle it off if you don't want that feature enabled. Detect floors. I typically leave this off. I've had some issues before on multi-story buildings. When that was turned on, it would actually mix floors up. If you're confident that you've done your scanning well, and if you're doing a multi-story building, you've connected everything well, and then it shouldn't have any problem. So I typically leave that off. And then the last one is blur faces. So this is a privacy feature. If you're scanning a space and there's people in it that are captured in the images, for privacy purposes, it's a good policy to turn on the blur faces, and that way it will blur the faces of anybody that's in there so they can't be recognized. So that's kind of the little pre-upload things that you do. And I'm going to click upload now, and boom, this one uploaded instantly. I had actually uploaded it previously, and then I had to redo part of the video, so it was already there. So all it did was just upload my changes. It went real quick, but typically you'll find the uploading shouldn't take more than 10 or 15 minutes unless you're on a really big job, or if you have a poor Wi-Fi connection where you're trying to upload. We really just like to discourage people from trying that. You really want to have a good solid Wi-Fi connection when you go to upload. So the upload's complete. Now if you go, since I'm still logged in, I can actually see what's going on my Matterport cloud account. So if you go to all spaces, that you're going to be connected to your cloud account, and if you go down here, you can see Office, what we just did. Now it has to even though I did minor changes, it has to reprocess the whole thing. So that can take a few hours, but it shows you that it's there. That confirms it's successfully uploaded, and it's processing now. Okay, so that concludes. This is the third video in our series of Matterport Scanning 101. We went out and set the camera up and captured a model and did the on-site, windows and mirrors trim thing. Came back, did the trimming, edited the details, and did the little steps, and uploaded the model, and it's processing now. In the last video, I'm going to go through, we'll basically just be working on the in the cloud account, and I'll just show you the basic functionality there of how you edit spaces and share and add collaborators, and that there's a bunch of features in there, but I'm going to go over the basics of it so you get a kind of a good understanding of the very basic functionality there.